different parties. And Guaido, for example, he's part of a left party called Popular Will. Makes sense. He was elected in that as being another parliamentarian. That was in 2016. In 2015. In 2016, at the beginning of the year, the parliament was supposed to be coming to power and be elected. However, because Maduro lost so much power within the parliament to the point where we had absolute majority, and what that gave us was the capacity to essentially revoke the president if under the explicit reason of being undemocratic and destroying their people, and elect a new one.
Yeah.
That was the power that we had back in 2016. However, two things happened. One is that there were some criminal prosecutions to two parliamentarians, to the understanding of everyone involved. There were bogus criminal investigations because the higher command of the policy, the police is controlled by the party. But those two parliamentarians not being able to be elected made it so that we just were under the threshold of the absolute majority. And Maduro declared a state of emergency. A state of emergency that made it so,
How convenient.
Yeah, convenient. We have seen that again around the world. It's very interesting. He declared a state of emergency, saying that the assembly was going against the party, going against the government, going against the people and destroying them, and disbanded. First, the whole Supreme Court, what we call the High Tribunal of Justice, disbanded the whole thing and elected 13 new justices that were all part of the party and all connected to him. And this new Supreme Court effectively gave him the necessary auxiliary powers needed for him to create what is now called as a constituent assembly, which is essentially a new parliament elected with all members of his party, including his wife and his son, as the heads of the parliament.
That sounds like the best people for the job.
Yeah, precisely. It was this assembly that called for the presidential elections 2016. It was this assembly that got our biggest opposition leader, Leopoldo Lopez, thrown into jail based on the fact that we went out in protest against riots around the world and around Venezuela, and the government went and killed a bunch of people, and he was personally convicted for the death of every one of them. 100 people died at the hands of police brutality, and Leopoldo Lopez, because he was the face of the opposition at the time, he was thrown into jail and prevented from running in that election. Everyone that was also prominent, Enrique Capriles, Maria Corina Machado, they were all banned from running in that election. The election was called 3 months earlier, and even by the accounts of the company, the private company that provided the electronic machines for voting to the government, they said that those machines were tampered with, and they personally did not recognize the results because they were bogus.
Wow.
That was the election of 2016. Interestingly enough, about 60% of the opposition just boycotted the whole election. They were like, "This is illegal elections. They don't exist. We're not going to participate." And apparently, Maduro still got the same amount of votes that Chavez had at his height of popularity. So convenient. Now, this is where Guaido comes into play. Because those elections were so irregular and so unconstitutional, the assembly in 2000, at the beginning of this year, under the rule of Guaido, because essentially the way that it works is that the head of the assembly gets passed down every 3 months or so to each party, so that they all have the capacity to be the president of the assembly. When Popular Will, which is, by the way, the party of Leopoldo Lopez, the leader that I said that was thrown into prison, got the presidency, Guaido was the one that took that role. And Guaido alongside a number of intellectuals from around the world, including people from the United States. We've seen various political leaders of the sides. I personally don't feel comfortable giving credit to Mike Pence. He has done a lot of things, but he only came to the picture when things got resolved. However, despite the fact that I don't agree with a lot of his policies, I have to give credit to Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio, being the Republican leader that represents most of the Latin American communities, has been the best ally and the biggest outspoken for Venezuelan issues since 2015. Making sure that our people are protected, making sure that the rest of the world is aware of the sheer amounts of humanitarian crises. Like the High Commissioner for Refugees around the world currently has 5 humanitarian crises that are confirmed by the High Commissioner. One of those is Rohingya, the Rohingya genocide that happened in 2018. The other one is Nicaragua and El Salvador, which is the conversation we have had with the US of the big caravans of people fleeing the country. The next one is Sudan. I hope people are aware of what's happening in Sudan.
We did the Sudan podcast last week.
Yeah, there you go. Another one is Venezuela. That is the level of the sheer amount.
Yes.
When he got into power, he effectively called an article of our constitution that makes it so that if there is no president, if we haven't called elections and we have no leader, the assembly president becomes automatically the interim president of the country, and their sole purpose is to make sure that democratic processes are followed so that we can elect a new president. That is what Guaido did. That is what the current challenges happened, because they said, according to they essentially legitimized the government that was in power, which is Maduro's, and said, we are going to call new elections, but we cannot call it until we, A, make sure that the military doesn't just revoke it, because so far the Maduro regime still controls the military, and that's why we have seen so many people die over the last 6-7 months. As well as ensuring that the process is free, democratic, and equally representative, because all the powers, so the judiciary, the executive, legislative, electoral, and popular council, those are the 5 powers in Venezuela, all of them are controlled by the party. So that's essentially the problem here. And the rest of the world is essentially recognizing this, about 55 countries around the world, recognizing Guaido as the legitimate interim president, and they're trying to make sure that, while without intervening, making sure that this transition of power goes as smooth as possible.